Hi guys, this is Shula from ShulaTutoring.com. In this video, I will go over practice test on classification of matter. So please pause this video for now and look at the description for this video. You'll see that there's a link there. It's a link to the practice test that I created. So I want you to complete this test. You can download this document and print it and complete it this way, or you can just complete it on a piece of paper while looking at the screen. It's up to you. But once you complete it, you can watch the rest of this video. And the rest of this video is basically like the explanation part to this practice test. And then you will know, if you know this material, you will understand which mistakes you made, and you will be able to score your points and you can give yourself a grade. So let's do that right now. We have 25 entries here. Classify each of the following 25 entries as a pure substance or a mixture. If it is a mixture, classify it as a heterogeneous or homogeneous. If it is a pure substance, classify it as an element or a compound. Write the corresponding number in one of the bottom rectangles. Each entry is 2 points. So let's start with the first one here, helium. Does it always have the same composition? Is helium the same everywhere? The answer is yes. Now, can we separate it into simpler substances? Is it one type of atom or it's two or more types of atoms? It's just helium, right? He. It's just one atom that we can find on the periodic table. So it's an element. We cannot separate it into simpler substances by chemical means. So we write 1 here. Now, oil and water. Does it always have the same composition? Well, there are many different ways to mix oil and water. You can use different proportions of oil and water, or you can add different types of oil. So it doesn't always have the same composition. The answer is a no. So we go right here. Is it uniform throughout? No, it's a heterogeneous mixture because we can actually see individual components. We can see the water layers, we can see the oil in there. It's not mixed evenly, so it's a heterogeneous mixture too. Now, pure water. Does it always have the same composition? Is pure water the same everywhere in terms of its chemical composition? Like the pure water in Asia, is it the same as pure water that you find in South America? Yes, pure water is pure water. Now, can we separate it into simpler substances? Well, let's look at water. Water is 2 atoms of hydrogen bonded to 1 atom of oxygen. So that is 2 types of atoms. Technically, we could separate water into hydrogen atoms and oxygen atoms. So that makes it a compound. 3. Now, saline solution. Does it always have the same composition? There are different ways to mix saline solution. You can add different amounts of water or salt. Sometimes you will buy saline solution at the pharmacy and it will contain preservatives, right? And they do change chemical composition and it will still be saline solution. So the point is it doesn't always have the same composition. So the answer is a no, which makes it into a mixture. Now, is it uniform throughout? Is it mixed evenly? Yes, the salt is dissolved in water, so that makes it a homogeneous solution. Now, tea with sugar. Does it always have the same composition? No, there are different ways to mix tea and sugar. You can add more sugar or less sugar, and you can have different types of tea. So the answer is a no, so it's a mixture. Is it uniform throughout? Yes, because it's dissolved. It's mixed evenly. We cannot see individual components, so it's a homogeneous mixture. Now, wet sand, does it always have the same composition? No, because there are different ways to mix water and sand, different proportions, different types of sand, right? So it's a mixture. Is it uniform throughout? No, because sand tends to settle on the bottom of the mixture, so you won't have a uniform mixture there. So that makes it a heterogeneous mixture. Now, aluminum, does it always have the same composition? Yes, aluminum is aluminum, so it's a pure substance. Can we separate it into simpler substances? It's just one type of atom, it's just aluminum, so we can't separate it into simpler substances, so that makes it an element. Now, carbon dioxide, does it always have the same composition? Yes, carbon dioxide is carbon dioxide. Now, can we separate it into simpler substances? Let's look at carbon dioxide. That's carbon and oxygen. Technically, we could separate it into carbon atoms and oxygen atoms, and that makes it a compound because it's not one type of atom, it's two or more types of atoms. So that's 8. Now, sweat, does it always have the same composition? No, because the composition of sweat varies from person to person. It really depends on your body. It really depends, for example, on whether you are hydrated or not. If you are dehydrated, you'll have more concentrated sweat, and there are other factors there as well. I think there are differences, male versus female, so the composition is not always the same, so it's a mixture. Now, is it uniform throughout? The answer is yes, because it's dissolved in water. So if you have some components dissolved in something, it's mixed evenly, so that makes it a homogeneous mixture, and that's number 9. Let's look further. Now, vegetable soup, does it always have the same composition? No, because there are many different ways to make vegetable soup. There are so many different recipes. Is it uniform throughout? No, it's not mixed evenly. You can actually see individual components, so it's a heterogeneous mixture. Now, gold, does it always have the same composition? Yes, gold is gold. Can we separate it into simpler substances? Let's look at what gold is. It's just one type of element. So if we have just one type of atom, that makes it an actual element. So that's 11. Wine, does it always have the same composition? No, there are so many different types of wines, right? You can have dry, semi-sweet, sweet, red, white, so many different types of wines. So it's a mixture. Is it uniform throughout? Yes, because it's dissolved, it's mixed evenly. You cannot see individual components. So wine number 12 is a homogeneous mixture. Bronze, does it always have the same composition? So this is the tricky question, actually, because to answer this question, you need to understand that bronze is a mixture of different metals. So even though it's the same metals that are being combined to make bronze, you can't always have the same proportion. It's impossible to combine it with the same kind of perfect proportion. You can have a little bit more of, I think it's tin and copper, so you can add a little bit more tin or less tin, a little bit more copper or less copper. So proportions will vary. It's not like carbon dioxide where you have exactly one atom of carbon per 2 atoms of oxygen. It's different. Even though there is the same way to make bronze, like we actually know how it happens and what metals go into it, if you were to take different samples of bronze and run chemical tests on them, you'll discover that they'll have slightly different composition. That makes it a mixture. Now, is it uniform throughout? Yes, because those metals are mixed evenly. They're mixed evenly to the extent that bronze looks like a separate metal in itself. It doesn't look like some mixture where you can see individual parts. Now iron, does it always have the same composition? Well, iron is iron, so yes, it's a pure substance. Can we separate it into simpler substances? Well, let's look what iron is. It's Fe. It's just one type of atom. If it's one type of atom, it's an element. So number 14 is an element. Chicken noodle soup. Does it always have the same composition? No, because there are many different recipes to make it. Is it uniform throughout? No, because if you have chicken and noodles combined together, they are not going to be mixed evenly. You will be able to see individual components. So that makes it a heterogeneous mixture. Carbon monoxide, CO. Does it always have the same composition? Yes, carbon monoxide is carbon monoxide. Can we separate it into simpler substances? Well, it's two types of atoms together. So technically, we could separate it into carbon atoms and oxygen atoms. So that makes it a compound. 16, right? That's number 16. Ammonia, NH3. Does it always have the same composition? Yes, ammonia is ammonia. Can we separate it into simpler substances? Well, it's two types of atoms together. It's nitrogen and hydrogen. So technically, we could separate ammonia into nitrogen atoms and hydrogen atoms. So that's a compound. Number 17, coffee. Does it always have the same composition? We all know that there are so many different ways to make coffee. So no, it's a mixture. Is it uniform throughout? Yes, because coffee and sugar and whatever else you add in there is dissolved in water. So that makes it a homogeneous mixture. Now, toy box filled with toys. Does it always have the same composition? No, there are so many different ways to fill a toy box. There are so many different types of toys. So it's a mixture. Is it uniform throughout? No, because if you were to sample it, like you would try to grab something from that toy box, one time you grab a teddy bear, the other time you grab like Lego or something, you can see individual components. So that makes the heterogeneous mixture. 19. And then carbon, does it always have the same composition? Yes, carbon is carbon, so it's a pure substance. Can we separate it into simpler substances? Well, it's just one type of atom. So if it's just one type of atom, we cannot separate it into simpler substances, and that makes it an element. Now, orange juice without pulp, does it always have the same composition? No, because there are different ways to make orange juice. You can just squeeze oranges, or let's say you can make it from concentrate, or you can use different kinds of oranges. So the answer is a no. Is it uniform throughout? Yes, because we cannot see any individual components. All we see is orange juice. So it's a homogeneous mixture. Now 22, orange juice with pulp. So here's where we see that really interesting difference between heterogeneous and homogeneous mixture. First of all, just like we established for the previous one, orange juice is a mixture. Now, what happens when we add pulp there? Well, pulp tends to settle on the bottom. So that makes it a heterogeneous mixture, because now there is a separate component which is not mixed in with the liquid. It actually separates and settles somewhere else. It forms a distinct layer. So orange juice with pulp will be a heterogeneous mixture. Now, nickel, does it always have the same composition? Yes, it's a metal, type of metal. Nickel is nickel. Can we separate it into simpler substances? It's just one type of atom, and nickel, so it's an element, and we cannot separate it chemically into simpler substances. Iron 2 oxide, does it always have the same composition? Well, iron oxide is iron oxide, yes. can we separate it into simpler substances? Well, it's two types of atoms, it's iron and oxygen together. So technically, we could separate it into just iron and oxygen. So the answer is yes. So it's a compound. And finally, the last one, does it always have the same composition? And that was ice in a drink? No, because you can have more ice or less ice. So it's not always the same. So it's a mixture. Is it uniform throughout? No, because you have ice swimming in water, and that's two different things. So it's not mixed evenly. So that makes it a heterogeneous mixture. We did this practice test. So now you can actually score your grade, and you will see how you did. I just wanted to mention a few things here. It's important to always ask this question about, does it always have the same composition? And then it sends you into two distinct categories. It's either yes or no. If it's a yes, then we ask ourselves if it's separable into simpler substances. Basically, if it's one type of atom that we can find on the periodic table, it's an element. If it's two or more types of atoms, it's a compound. For mixtures, always ask yourself if you can see individual components. Anything that's dissolved fully will be a homogeneous mixture. Anything that is not dissolved fully will be a heterogeneous mixture. And for heterogeneous mixtures, it's usually substances that are in different states of matter, right? So we have different states of matter: liquid, solid, and gas. So most of the heterogeneous mixtures here were liquid mixed with solid, like for example chicken noodle soup, right? So you have broth, right, and there you have noodles and chicken that are mixed in there, and that's like liquid and solids mixed together. They are in different states of matter, so they can't possibly mix evenly, right? So same goes for ice in a drink. So solid and liquid together. Same goes for orange juice with pulp. Same goes for vegetable soup. Same goes for wet sand, right? So always look out for those things. So that's it for this test. If you got a good grade, congratulations. If your grade is not so good, hopefully now you understand this material better and you will do better next time. If you have any questions to me, please mention them in the comments. If you enjoyed watching this video, please give me a like and subscribe so that you don't miss future content, because I'll be coming out with more videos like this. I'll be making more practice exams on different topics in biology and chemistry, and possibly algebra, even though I'm not so sure about that, but it's likely. So you know, if you're a student or if you're a teacher, this channel might be very useful to you. If you are a teacher, of course, feel free to use this material the way that works for you and helps you. So hopefully see you guys next time. Bye bye.